Hi guys, we want to continue from where we stopped in our last class. We are actually talking about the different organelles that are present in the cell, the content of the cell, and their various functions. So today, like I've said, we are going to start with the what? Cell wall. Now, having attended our last class, we observed the distinguishable characteristics between the plant and the what? Animal cell. So now we'll be talking about the first content of the cell, which is cell wall. So now, talking about the cell wall. The cell wall is the outer structure of a plant cell, and it is very vital for the plants. Though we can't find the cell wall in an animal. It contains aperture or canals. Talking about the cell, it's a rectangular shape. Contains some aperture. The cell wall is the external part of a plant cell, which contains a canal known as the plasmodesmata. Now, these canals that are present in the cell wall gives room for the passage of some important molecules in and out of the cell. Now, it determines the shape. Talking about the function, determines the shape of the cell. It is very, very rigid, composed of cellulose in some organisms. The cell wall are mostly composed of cellulose. Now, this cellulose gives it its rigidity and strength. It makes it firm, that gives various plants their shape. And so its functions is to give shape to a cell, and it also protects the cell against various metabolic activities that are going to be dangerous to the cell. So it protects the inner cell and also gives mechanical support. It protects the inner cell and also gives mechanical support to the cell. So that is it for the cell wall. Now, the next part is the plasma membrane. If you look, the plasma membrane is present. The plasma membrane can be found in both plant and animal cells. So just like the function of the cell wall, it protects the cell as well. The cell membrane protects the cell, and for plant cell, it is found after the cell wall. And for animal cell, it is found at the outer part of their cell. Now, what is this cell membrane composed of, or what is it made up of? Now, the cell membrane is made up of two layers. So we call it, it has an outer layer and it has an inner layer. So it is made up of phospho, the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, is made up of phospholipid bilayer. And also composed of protein. So the outer and the inner layer is made up of protein. While the middle layer in the cell membrane is made up of phospholipid. So the middle layer is made up of phospholipid. So the function, now talking about the function of this cell membrane. It's made up of an outer and an inner layer. The outer and inner layer are made up of the protein, while the middle layer is made up of what? Phospholipid. The function of it first, it gives protection to the cell. So it gives protection to the cell, and it controls the entrance and exit of the materials. So it controls the material that are coming in and out of a cell. The cell membrane regulates the content that are coming in and out of the cell. Now the phospholipid bilayer we'll be talking about. Let's say for instance the phospholipid bilayer, this is the cell. It has a lipid, has a head and a tail. Surrounded by a lipid bilayer. Let's say this is a lipid bilayer. And the head allows intake of water. That is, they are hydrophilic in nature, while that of the tails are hydrophobic in nature. So they allow substances to enter, soluble substances to enter, and also select some substances out of the cell with the function of this biliquid layer. So it also allows the maintenance of homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis simply means the maintenance of the fairly constant internal environment of the body system. With a good working cell membrane, you find out that the body system is in a good homeostasis. So now we move to the inner structure of the cell known as the cytoplasm. Now the cytoplasm is known to house all the content of the cells, as it is the liquid component of the cell. Let's say we have a cell here. So contents, the liquid component of the cell is known as the cytoplasm. It houses all other organelles inside. Every organelle in the body system are housed inside the cytoplasm of the cell. So they are the mitochondria, the nucleus, and the rest of them are housed inside the cytoplasm. Now the part of the cytoplasm that actually houses this organelle So the cytoplasm is known as the part that houses this organelle. Now, the remaining parts of the cytoplasm that do not partake in the housing of other organelle components are known as what we call the hyaloplasm. So the hyaloplasm are not part of the component that actually houses the other organelles in it. Now we have two compartments or two different compartments of the cytoplasm, the non-living and the living compartment of the cytoplasm. So talking about the living component of the cytoplasm, the living component of the cytoplasm includes the organelles that are found in the cytoplasm. Those are the parts that are responsible for all the metabolic functions of the body system through the cell. We include what we call the mitochondria, the centriole, the plastic, the nucleus, the ribosome, and the rest of them. So these are examples of the living component of the cytoplasm. They are known as the living components because they are responsible for taking all the normal functions and performing all the normal functions of the cell in order for the body system to be in order. So the non-living component of the cell can be divided into two. We have the organic component and the inorganic component. So in the non-living, we have the inorganic component. Now the inorganic component includes water. You can find water inside the cytoplasm. You have your water, you have your salts. You have other ions, which includes your potassium ions. So these are the inorganic components of the cell. They are also present and needed for the body cells to be in a good condition. Now the organic components of the cell that are found here are your macromolecules. These include your macromolecules. So who can give me examples of macromolecules? Feel free to pass the video. What are macromolecules? So the macromolecules are organic compounds which are found in the cell responsible for the metabolic functions and the growth of all living organisms. These include your lipids, your protein, your carbohydrates. So these are the macromolecules that are responsible for the metabolic function of the body system. So having understand that the cytoplasm is the one that houses all other organelles, so we'll be moving on to the next organelle and see the function that it does in the body system. So we'll be talking about the nucleus. Now the nucleus is known as is known to have been discovered by Robert Brown in 1837. Well, of course, the nucleus is a very, very important part of the body system because it is responsible for all the various activities of the cell. So it is known to also control the activities of the cell. I will continue from this. So take care and feel free to enjoy the video. Thank you. So I want to continue with the nucleus. Now we said the nucleus was actually discovered by Robert Brown in 19. The nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown So it was discovered by Organels in 1937. He discovered this in the flowering plants. When he was making some studies in flowering plants, he found out that they contain substances known as nucleus. And these nucleus are the main and the most important part of the cell contents. So, plant cell, although we've observed that this nucleus can vary in different living organisms, some cells have been discovered to have more than one cell. Now, when we talk about cells, particularly in plants, that have more than one nucleus, that has more than one nucleus. So plant cell that has more than one nucleus are known as cells. Now these phenotypes are found in examples of some organisms that possesses two nucleus or more than two in a cell. We have some algae, bacteria, and we also have what? Fungi. So we find them to have consist of what? More than one nucleus in their cell components. Now talking about animal cells that has more than one nucleus. There are some animal cells that possesses more than one nucleus. They are known as cilia. Example of this is seen in striated muscles of humans. So, what is the advantage of this nucleus to a cell, and what is the basic function of this nucleus? We'll be looking into it. Now, the functions of the nucleus. One, it controls the activities of the cell. All cellular activities are being handled by the nucleus, because it is responsible for metabolizing and producing the protein that is needed to carry out the basic function of human being. The nucleus houses so many other components. We'll be looking at the nucleolus, and also we'll be talking about the chromosomes. Now these are the two major components that are present inside the nucleus of the cell. Now the nucleolus is a dark spot that you find inside the nucleus of the cell. The dark thick spot, this is the nucleus, and you find this at the edge corner of it. Now this nucleolus is very, very important in the nucleus. Why? This is because it is the one that is responsible for the production of ribosomes. The nucleolus responsible for the production of ribosomes. Now, the nucleolus is responsible for the production of ribosome. This ribosome is an important organelle that we use in the synthesis of protein. And the chromosomes are located inside the nucleus. They are responsible for the transfer of genetic material from one organism to another. And its portion contains the DNA. The chromosomes houses the DNA, and this DNA is a component inside the nucleus that carries genetic material from one organism to another. Aside from carrying genetic material, this DNA that is present in the nucleus carries genetic material from one organism to another. It is the storehouse of all information that are needed to produce any form of protein in the body system. So the DNA is a very, very important component, and it is housed in the nucleus. Every other protein that are needed by the body and the functions of the body are being made possible with the presence of the what? DNA. So we have the other function of the DNA, which is replication of the DNA, helps in the manufacture of protein. So the DNA is being transcribed to RNA, and the RNA is being translated to what? Protein. So these proteins are now necessary for all the body system to perform their various activities and also build up the structures in the body system. So basically, all life start their existence from the DNA, and the DNA is housed in the nucleus. This is why the nucleus is known to control all activities, and it is the most important part of the cell. So we will also be looking at the next part of the organelles in the cell, which is the mitochondria. Now, talking about mitochondria has a nickname, which is known as the powerhouse of the cell. And the question is, why is it considered as the powerhouse of the cell? All power, all energy generated in the cell are being gotten from the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the site for ATP production in the body, in the cells of an organism. Now, the mitochondria are the shape like this, the sausage roll, you may see it. Now, the mitochondria has an outer part and also an inner part. It is made up of two layers. An outer membrane, which is mainly composed of protein. It has two layers, outer, which is composed of protein, and lipids. and also has an inner membrane. It has an inner membrane. Now this inner membrane is made up of several folds. As you can see, it has several folds. Now these folds are known as cristae, which are called cristae. So it is this cristae that helps in trapping oxygen and carbon dioxide. So the cristae helps in trapping oxygen and carbon dioxide. So the function of this cristae is to trap oxygen and carbon dioxide. After trapping the oxygen, it will now use it to produce energy or to break down your energy in the body system. So that means the metabolism or the production of ATP, of energy, used by the entire body of an organism is produced in the mitochondria. So after producing this, production of this is done in the mitochondria. Now, it varies in different cells and in different organisms, depending on the part of the cell that actually needs the production of this energy. Take for instance, in the sperm cell of living organism, we have high components of mitochondria in their cell. The sperm cell has high components of mitochondria. Why is it very high in the sperm cell? This is needed because the sperm cell requires a lot of energy to move in sperm from the body or from the genital organ of a human to the female body system. There are a lot of energy that needs to be consumed before it can penetrate the zona pellucida of the female organ. So a lot of energy is required. Thus, you find more of mitochondria in those parts of the body. Now, visit other parts of the cells that you think we can actually find high mitochondria. But feel free to pass the video if you have an answer to that. So we also find out that cells that do not require much of the mitochondria are very, very minimal. For example, the cells of the eye do not require much energy. So therefore, you might not find much of mitochondria there. So, and it is very, very interesting for you to understand that the mitochondria is known as semi-autonomous. Why is it regarded as semi-autonomous? Because it has the ability to replicate its own protein or produce its own protein that is needed for each manufacture. So it can manufacture itself and also carry out various activities without depending on other content of the cell. We are going to continue from plastic in our next class. So please subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying our video so that you get more of it. Thank you very much.